Hey, it's professional wrestler Colt Boom Boom Cabana, and you are watching WrestleTalk. Congratulations, you got here. Now, subscribe and support. Thanks.
Yo, this is the cream in your coffee, your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler, the Jewish canon, the physical embodiment of charisma, the most entertaining man in professional wrestling, the Bernie Sanders of professional wrestling, the best of the best, Mr. American Rana, Davey Wrestling, the 104-minute man, the main event. I'm really good at Twitter, the king of taunts, the product, David Starr. And support WrestleTalk and go subscribe.
Support WrestleTalk!
Donate on Patreon.
Who will win the Wednesday night TV war? Will it be AEW or NXT? I am Luke, and this is El Fakador, Laurie Blake, and welcome to the Weekend WrestleRamble, which of course is sponsored by our own friggin' magazine, which is amazing. And if you click the link in the video description down below, you can go to a website where you can buy loads of them for very few poundage.
Muchos copy. Lesos?
Dinero. Yep, it's the one. I'm pretty sure that's...
Hashtag not actually Spanish.
Yep, that's pretty flawless, I would say.
Know, yeah.
So yeah, click the link down below, because the magazine very soon is going to be monthly and available in all sorts of shops across this United Kingdom. Criminy indeed. Crumbs.
Cripes!
Crumbs indeed. But we're going to be talking today about the AEW NXT Wednesday Night War, which has been on this cards for some time now. Essentially, the story goes that WWE were waiting for when AEW would announce what day they were on. Because there were all these rumors that they might be on Tuesday nights, because they made Tuesday Night Dynamite. They trademarked that last year when they were trademarking AEW and All Elite Wrestling and all that sort of stuff.
That was a play to make WWE feel safe.
Maybe. But then it turns out they were going to be on a Wednesday night. So all of these rumors started to fly around. Excuse me. That they may go on to FS1 because WWE have got to deal with Fox now for SmackDown. Sure. So maybe they'll go on to FS1, be a show there. And Meltzer was reporting that there was going to be a live 2-hour show. They were going to not completely change the format, but they're going to have to stop doing it as a taped thing. They're going to have to do it as a live show because that's the only way to compete with AEW. And then, over the weekend, last weekend, the game changed. Because all of a sudden, a huge announcement was going to be announced for Raw, and that huge announcement was set to be that NXT is going to be moving to the USA Network, which is the current home for Raw and SmackDown. And it was going to be a 2-hour live show, and they were going to make this big announcement on Raw, which they ended up not doing. Meltzer says as well they were going to do the announcement, but then just changed their minds. My theory is because they were annoyed that the story leaked early.
Yeah, and it took some of the wind out of their sails for that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So it's now, they just released a press release and just said, hey, it's going to be on Wednesday night, and it'll be on Thursday nights if you're still one of those network folk, and that's fine. There's no international deals for it thus far. This is only an American thing. So if you're one of our American viewers, you will get it on the network the following day. For everyone else, we're still getting it on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Which is, that's fine. I know, I don't mind too much. I'd imagine come January, here in the UK, that might change with the BT Sport thing.
Yeah, I guess so.
They'll probably get it. But, yeah, so it's now official. It's going to be starting 2 weeks before AEW starts on TNT.
Oh.
And it's going to be live. It's going to be 2 hours, still taped at Full Sail, but it is now going to be a head-to-head show.
Wow.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's a baller move, isn't it? To be like, well, we're just going to go straight head-to-head with you.
Yeah.
I'm cynical as well. Massively
Well,
cynical.
yeah, but that's the WWE way.
Yeah, it's that thing of
there's a reason why NXT UK exists. And it's not because they wanted to make
absolutely.
a UK
but
brand.
even for the point of if you actually wanted to make NXT the third WWE brand and put it on TV, why would you put it on a night you could have had the same audience as AEW on a different night. And that would have been fine.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be. You don't have to crush every competitor.
This has not been done.
I think the thing is AEW existing and having their own show could have bolstered WWE's viewing figures across all their programming if they didn't program against AEW. Instead, they're now dividing already a divided audience. And instead, they could have got the rub from people watching AEW coming back into the fold, being like, there's other wrestling out there. There's this NXT thing that's actually quite similar to AEW in terms of the in-ring action. People could watch that.
Yeah.
on USA.
But this has not been
on a
done.
Thursday.
This has not been done to bolster the NXT brand.
No.
For everything that Triple H can tweet about, this has not been done to make NXT the third brand. This has solely been done to compete against AEW and, crucially, siphon away viewers from their show. Because it doesn't really matter if they win. And this has always been the thing. It doesn't matter if they win the ratings war. The important thing is it's taking viewers away from AEW.
Yeah.
And you know what? Their theory is quite sound. People recognize the WWE logo. They may not recognize the people on the NXT brand, but they recognize that WWE logo. And if it's advertised as WWE NXT, then people are going to watch it.
Yeah, especially if the rumors are true that, like, you know, main roster talent will be used at least in the early going in an attempt to bump the viewership and all that kind of stuff. Like, if you start suddenly putting, like, Becky Lynch's face on things, Seth Rollins, The Undertaker,
exactly.
like, start calling in Shawn Michaels again, like, you know,
Yeah,
Shawn Michaels.
he's there.
I imagine Shawn Michaels is going to start appearing much more.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, there is WWE has a lot of talent to leverage to make this a much bigger deal.
100%.
Like AEW is very much banking on the well-known in wrestling circles and also in music circles, like your Jerichos. But then everyone else is kind of like a lesser-known quantity than that. Like, very famous in wrestling, but not necessarily in mainstream.
That's completely it.
And I think WWE is going to do, you know, potentially even more like mainstream guests, leverage some of that. Like, they've just got good relationships with a lot of sports teams. They've got good relationships with a lot of musicians. They're just going to chuck everything at the wall for this, I think.
I've
Surely.
got to imagine they're going to be doing everything they can to try and... I mean, let's not forget, when TNA put on a show on a Monday night to go directly head-to-head with them, that January 4th show, they brought back Bret Hart. Like, that was their Hail Mary. They were like, oh, you're putting on a competing show? We're going to bring Bret Hart back into the company and have him and Shawn Michaels hug in the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
Don't care if you got Hulk Hogan. Don't care if you got Rob Van Dam.
Yeah.
We've got Bret Hart back. And all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, Bret Hart's back in WWE.
Yeah.
And so everyone watched that show.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame that this is what the business is. It's like there is enough room for both things. Like, there absolutely is enough room for both things, and you don't need to crush the competition anymore. It's not the 90s.
And the other thing as well with this is that WWE have decided to put this on the USA Network because it's available. It's in more homes than both TNT, but crucially FS1.
Yep.
And this is very interesting because Fox had been telling their affiliates that the new wrestling show was coming to FS1.
Yep.
They'd been told, we're going to put it on FS1. And the 11th hour, they've changed their minds and put it onto USA instead.
So they must be pissed at WWE, right?
Well, I can imagine it's a particularly great relationship at the moment. Meltzer writes in The Observer, even though this deal is groundbreaking and makes NXT an economical, profitable brand, which it has not been previously, all negotiations were primarily done as a counter to AEW's deal on TNT for 8 to 10 p.m. on Wednesday. Anyone who knows Vince McMahon knew the move would be a counter. The key point, though, is that a lot of people felt that the show will be lower rated on FS1, which is in fewer homes than TNT, which could lose in the ratings, something in this case McMahon couldn't stand for. So they were like, if AEW pulls better numbers than we do, I can't have that. So it's got to go on USA, where we're more likely going to win.
And this is apparently what superstars in WWE have been saying as well. Like, I think it was Fightful spoke to a bunch of... Sean Ross Sapp spoke to a bunch of people backstage, and he said that one of them had told him that they reckon they're going to lose in terms of attendance.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to have to anyway, I think, because AEW's doing stadiums and they're doing Full Sail.
Yeah, stadiums or arenas. I can't remember.
They're doing like bigger arenas.
But it's like 14,000 seats, or like 9 to 14,000 seats, compared to Full Sail, which is 400 people.
Exactly. But they think they're going to win in the ratings.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
and I fully expect them to as well.
The feeling backstage is they're going to win the ratings. But I guess that's the point, is like, that doesn't matter, because the bit you're fighting against isn't like AEW was never going to be, at least in the initial point, a Goliath of the level that WWE grew to be over many, many years.
Oh, yeah.
AEW was always going to be an alternative. Like, it was always going to be something that wrestling fans or people who have a very rich diet of wrestling, who like New Japan, who like Ring of Honor, go to as well. Like, it's just another string to the bow, one that also has TV time.
Yeah.
I don't know why WWE's panicking so freaking much about it. Like, they're panicking so much is because they've peed off every single member of their staff. So now that there's actually an alternative, they need to they've mistaken that. It's like we need to win in the audience terms. It's like, no, you need to win in the sort of just morale terms of people who work for you.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that want to leave and go work there.
Hey, man, I'm just talking about a morale booster. The word is that they're going to get new contracts. The NXT guys were paid, by all accounts, quite poorly. And actually, a lot of people who have turned down NXT have been very vocal about you do get paid very poorly to be in NXT because the idea is you then go to the main roster and that's where you get your new contract.
Yeah.
Now they're going to be a national TV show. They're getting those main roster contracts.
Yeah, you got to think.
So that's
Adam
a good
Cole
thing.
And Gargano are going to get
Yeah, totally.
I think beyond the nature in which it's been done and the kind of the feeling behind the move, it's a really good deal for all the NXT guys who have been busting their asses
and making the best show
and making the best show that WWE does. And it's amazing that we're going to see a 2-hour live Triple H vision of what a WWE product should be.
Yes, absolutely.
And it might be freaking terrible.
Yeah.
But if it's like NXT and it's like TakeOver, it could be one of the best things on television in terms of wrestling.
And we don't know what AEW's weekly product is going to be, but it could end up being that Wednesday nights are that's the night you want to be tuning in.
Yeah.
It is going to be. We could almost be in that Monday Night War era where people were flicking between the shows. Like, I'm going to watch a bit of Raw and then I'm going to flick over and watch a bit of Nitro. And then you've got your friends saying, like, dude, you've got to watch Nitro because Ric Flair's doing this. And you're like, oh my God, I need to switch the channel. Or I can't change the channel now. Stone Cold's in the ring. I want to see this. Yeah. And you're really going to create this amazing split audience dynamic.
It's going to be so hard for live tweeting.
Oh God,
It's going to be impossible.
Yeah, we've got website coverage to do. We've got rambles to do the following day.
I just think it's a great deal for NXT to go to USA, to be in more homes, for the guys on the brand, the guys and girls on the brand to have better contracts. Like, it's great for us as fans to see
a great time for wrestling
longer
fans.
version of the show. No, there's nothing wrong with it at all.
No, it's just a very cynical move on WWE's part. But you know what? I don't mind, really. Yeah. Like, it's, completely cynical and it's a completely Vince McMahon thing to do. But it's great for wrestling fans. The slight downside to it could be, and this has been, Meltzer pointed this out in The Observer, which I hadn't really taken into consideration. Currently, this week of TV, on national TV, we've had 5 hours of content.
Yeah.
Come October, that number is going to be either 9 or 10. Because the rumor is Fox want to make SmackDown 3 hours. So you're going to get 3 hours of Raw on a Monday, 2 hours of AEW on a Wednesday, 2 hours of NXT on a Wednesday, and 3 hours of SmackDown on a Friday. The worry there is you're going to burn out your wrestling audience, because that's almost too much wrestling to watch.
No, it's not even almost too much wrestling to watch. It is too much wrestling to watch. That is, and then on a pay-per-view week, add another 3 hours, or 7 if it's SummerSlam. You know what I mean? WWE's already oversaturated its own market with its own product, and that is its major problem. That's why viewing figures and stuff are dropping, is because people just get burnt out, and you can't go to every show because it's not affordable for most people. And if SmackDown's rolling through the same 5 towns over and over again on a never-ending tour loop, you're only going to go to one. Like, I would probably go to Raw and SmackDown once a year. I mean, they only come here once a year, really.
Oh, we get twice.
Yeah, but once a year that I remember to know about.
I was going to say, even then, I would question going once a year, because Raw tapings are usually quite boring.
Yeah, but 3 hours of that, 2 hours of SmackDown, 2 hours of NXT, then 7 hours of a pay-per-view or another 3, that is 15 hours of stuff to watch. And if it wasn't, we could barely fit it in as our job to watch it.
Yeah.
So who has the time in their life regularly around going to work, seeing your friends, doing other things, to watch 15 hours of a product to know a story?
Yeah, that's it. It's a lot. And it's, you can always argue that during the Monday Night War, there was 9 to 10 hours there because you had 2 hours of Raw, 2 hours of actually 3 hours of Nitro before it dropped down to 2 hours. Then you had SmackDown and you had Thunder. But Thunder was a terrible TV show that no one watched. SmackDown was a show that people did watch, but it wasn't doing the numbers that Raw was doing. And then Nitro essentially collapsed under it. Like, WCW folded, because they were just making terrible business, terrible business choice after terrible business choice, and writing, mostly mediocre and often terrible TV because they have to split across 2 different shows. And WWF at the time was pulling in like 8 to 9 million viewers. So they could afford to have 2 different shows because you've got 8 to 9 million to play with. Currently, we've got 2.5 million to play with.
Yeah.
3 million to play with. That's not as many people.
No, and I think that, and it's the thing of as well. It's like more of these TV deals means that there's less you can do on the WWE network, and it gets a bit harder to keep up and stay up to date. And like the problem we have over here is that Raw and SmackDown are weeks behind, and we can't watch them on the network because we can't see them go out.
We get them 30 days afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the US gets the same way.
Yeah, but you can't see it go out live.
No.
So we have to do dodgy things to watch it. But like
by Sky.
Yeah, but like
which is dodgy.
But there's just a bunch of stuff that you have to, there's just all of this drama about trying to see these things and keep up with the story. And WWE barely puts anything in their actual YouTube videos to help you keep up and see the actual wrestling product. So like, even though you're watching the highlights, there's barely any highlight there. And it's just a very limited amount of stuff. So you're mildly abreast of the story. So it's very hard to get engaged, and getting people engaged and watching all the products when you've got 15 hours worth of stuff is what you desperately need them to do, surely.
Before we finish this up, though, let's have this last little bit here from The Observer, which Dave Meltzer writes, the story going around is that NXT will continue its same path with Triple H in charge and no Vince McMahon or Kevin Dunn. And as long as ratings are good, while it's Vince's company and his directions and suggestions will happen, he'll probably be mostly hands-off. He hardly has the time now, and certainly won't come January with the launch of the XFL. If AEW wins in the ratings, Vince will obviously get more involved, and all things are open to change, from increased use of main roster stars to moving out of Full Sail to more ideas and suggestions and changes. Wrestling and WWE are far more important to USA Network going forward, while for TNT, that's not the case. Whether wrestling goes well or not, they aren't dead because they've got the NBA. Now, I wanted to bring this one up because this is a very interesting point to this. Yes, this is a Triple H product, and no, Vince McMahon isn't going to be involved in it from what we can gather of what's being written around, unless the ratings start to get bad. Then Vince might step in and start making his Vince McMahonisms. The other key to that is USA Network.
Yeah.
USA Network have been demanding WWE make changes this year. And if this show doesn't do well in the ratings, it might not be Vince McMahon demanding things. It might be USA making and demanding things and getting to change. Whereas TNT, as Meltzer points out, if AEW doesn't do well in the ratings or doesn't beat NXT, it doesn't really matter because they've got NBA, they've got other sports that are still bolstering up their ratings.
Yeah. And that's a big thing. Like, I think TNT, it's a legacy deal for it's part of their history. They want to do it, and it's an exciting new product. But they've probably got very sensible projections for how many views AEW is going to get.
100%. Yeah.
Like, I don't think internally they're thinking like crazy big.
They're not thinking 3 million first.
No, absolutely not. But this is the thing. So like, if Vince says the ratings are going to go poorly, they're starting first. So they're going to get big ratings week 1, week 2, week 3. AEW debuts at the exact same time, which is appealing to a very big bit of your audience on a different channel, sure. But surely that's going to siphon a fair few viewers away just to see what the competition is like on that one night. So you've got 2 weeks to really nail the story and keep people on your brand.
You've got to have a big
You've got to have
show.
a big cliffhanger on number 2.
You've got to have a big show for that October. Is it October 4th they start? Or that, when AEW launches, there needs to be a big NXT show.
Because otherwise, Vince might just look at Vince is so focused on immediacy with things. Like, he turns on a dime in a week or on an afternoon of Raw, chucking out all the scripts and getting everything rewritten because he read something somewhere. So if AEW siphons off some of these viewers in week 3, whatever it is that they come out, that might be enough for him to be like, I'm stepping in.
Exactly, yeah. That's it, completely. Well, why don't you let us know in the comments what are your thoughts? Who do you think is going to win the Wednesday Night War? Which show will you be watching? Post a comment down below. If you want to submit a question to the mailbag, all you've got to do is become one of our awesome pledge hammers on Patreon and leave a comment in the community section. I'm going to try and get through as many of these because we've still got a backlog of emails, hence why there's no crap gimmick wrestling. Also, Ollie Davis isn't here to kind of crack the whip and be like, no, you can only talk about this for a certain amount of time. We're free spirits, baby, so we're going to go for as long as it was quite late here in the office, so we're recording this on a Thursday.
We'll ramble as long as possible.
Yeah. Shaya writes in and says, have you even thought if the Elite signed in WWE, we could have had the OC versus the Elite with Finn Balor in the OC and Adam Cole on the Elite side? What's your opinion?
That would have been cool.
That would have been very cool. Elizabeth Mazura says, first of all, Soup's proud to be part of the 4 to 5% of female viewers, especially since I've been here in the BLE era, before Luke era.
Whoa.
I'd love seeing WrestleTalk grow. I love everyone who has joined, and I hope that more women support WrestleTalk. Y'all really did help in making wrestling more accessible to me when I first started watching, and you're a big part of why I'm still a wrestling fan. As for my actual question, is there ever going to be another Dave Meltzer in terms of wrestling news reporting? I know he's the authority on news and rumors in the wrestling world, but I wonder if there will ever be someone after him. What do you think the next person will have to do to avoid repeating some of Meltzer's gaffes? When Meltzer is largely credited for creating wrestling news media, how does one take over from him? Thanks for your time. Everyone at support and screen at WrestleTalk and Screenstalker is dabomb.com, and I hope you only continue to grow more. And please, feel free to roll the R's in my name, heart emoticon. Well, Randy Datson's not here, so I'm not going to be rolling any R's. Well, the next Dave Meltzer will most... Well, I mean, I was going to say it's Brian Alvarez, because it feels like he's always been kind of, positioned to have the baton handed over. But
True.
Alvarez feels like he's less interested in writing Observer-style newsletters.
Yeah, I think the thing is, the Dave Meltzer of wrestling will always be Dave Meltzer, and we're now in a completely different era where potentially it's not necessary to have a Dave Meltzer. And I think also there is a much broader spectrum of people collating and finding and speaking to sources and getting this information from people and putting it out there. There's so many other sites doing it that once Dave stops, really what we've lost is someone we've just lost someone who is as respected as he is. And I think that's the thing with Meltzer is he's been right so often and is so in with so many wrestling companies and wrestlers and promoters and etc. that people do take his word as gospel, even though a lot of stuff that Meltzer says is sometimes his own spin on it and him speculating out loud.
Or he's been fed duff information.
So he's wrong often as much as he's right.
Absolutely.
But he's right a lot.
Yeah.
And he's just saying what he's heard in the spectrum of rumours. Lots of people are doing that. There'll always be room for that. I just don't think people will be as prolific as Meltzer has been because... Man, the guy writes.
Yeah, I mean, he writes.
Talks and,
and man, he is a working machine. And I think that's it. When people say, who's the next Dave Meltzer, you've got to say, it's whoever's got that same work ethic.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at someone like a Sean Ross Sapp. I think Sapp's got a crazy work ethic for the sort of work that he does. So I think that he's a really, really good dude in this field. But Meltzer's work ethic is he lives, sleeps, and breathes wrestling. As soon as he's woken up, he's watching wrestling.
Yep.
Before he's going to bed, he's either writing the newsletter or he's doing radio shows or he's watching wrestling.
Yep.
He watches every single match he can get his hands on because he wants to have the best possible knowledge of it.
Yeah, it will be a site that has the Meltzer stamp now. It cannot be one person anymore because Meltzer also came up at a time where there was much less of this in a
absolutely.
In a huge
he was
sphere,
the first of them.
Exactly, that's what
doing
I mean.
it in the 1970s
Yeah.
when no one else was doing this sort of thing. So so he's kind of created this sort of legacy for himself because he was the first to do it. And then Alvarez came along 20 years later, and now we've got sort of a new crop of guys that are coming in using Twitter, WrestleVotes. Maybe it could be him, whoever WrestleVotes may be. Dan says, since Defiant has folded and Jim Smallman has announced that he'll leave Progress for NXT UK as well, as WWE apparently not allowing their talents to appear on rival streaming services anymore, anything that isn't WXW, Progress, OTT, or ICW. A lot of people feel confirmed in their theory that WWE wants to eliminate the UK indie scene. But then there is talent like hooligan Marcus Cool, a wrestler from New Zealand, who argues that WWE offer more money, instant healthcare in the arena, and a fantastic presentation due to the product's quality level. I wonder, where do you stand? Is the UK scene on a decline because of WWE, or is it actually on the up because everything is slowly coming under one roof with better pay and other benefits for the talent? Have a nice day, Dan.
So I don't think the two things are mutually exclusive.
I don't either.
I believe they coexist in the fact that WWE UK, like your man says, is very much giving talent pay that they need, healthcare that they need, things that they need, training that they need. Flying in the people from WWE US to come and train in the Performance Centre in the UK, running a Performance Centre and a training school. These are all really good things for the UK indie scene. But if they're not allowed to then go out and appear on the indie scene, that is bad for the indie scene because WWE NXT UK is not part of the indie scene properly.
No.
It is its own thing, very closed off, like WWE is.
Yeah, no, completely. And I think the way to look at this is to look at how NXT UK was set up initially. I mean, it was done for completely cynical reasons, which we're not going to go into. We've kind of drummed that horse to death, really. But it should be noted that when they were signing NXT UK contracts, the idea was you can also still work the indie scenes.
Yep.
And that has just been slowly chipped away and brought back and taken away and taken away and taken away. And then it's like, oh, yeah, we're going to run this show. Oh, actually, no, you're not allowed to work that show anymore. Oh, I've booked this date. No, you're not allowed to do that anymore. I'm going to work with this show. Oh, they got a streaming service? Absolutely not. Unless you can work with one of our guys and it's not taped. Yeah. And so it's just more and more chipping away to the fact now that they are closed off from the world. It's effectively what Justin Sizem said was going to happen. And everyone said, from NXT UK, I hasten to add, was that he was wrong, and he was completely right.
He was right, but I think this is the thing with it as well. It's like it is the problem is like it's great for the wrestlers, and you can view it from that perspective as much as you like. It is really good for the guys that got signed and the girls that got signed. It's bad for the promotions because how many indie promotions are struggling or going under?
Defiant closed the doors because of NXT
because
UK.
You can't sign the big name draws that were built up on the UK indie scene in the last 5 years.
That's it.
So and it's weirdly, it's also really great for a crop of new young talent because those shows that are surviving, they're getting pushed into the more mainstream picture, and things like Rev Pro putting young guys from the UK up against big names from Japan. That's freaking fantastic for those guys. But Rev Pro is lucky because it's got that great relationship with New Japan.
That's it. They're using the New Japan guys and the names that they've got left to be able to still sell those tickets.
Exactly.
Because they need to then start building up this new crop of talent. Unfortunately for Defiant, they didn't have that luxury. Yeah. They started building storylines around a lot of these guys. They started a storyline with Ilya Dragunov, and then the next thing they know is just like, he's not allowed to work for you anymore.
Yes.
And he got pulled from all their shows. All the storylines that they had got completely taken away.
But and there's an unfortunate thing as well, is that the ecosystem in the UK is not as cross-pollinated as the American ecosystem, where like you have territories and stuff like that. In the UK, it's the UK scene, and then you book talent that also flies to Japan and appears there. So like the UK scene has lost Will Ospreay to a New Japan contract, but he also just chose to move out there. So like even if he can work UK shows, it's very hard to because you've got to fly him back over. So like just the sheer distance between us and other places that also do wrestling is hampering the UK scene.
So I think you can look at it from both ways, as you said. But I would always look at the idea that it was never supposed to be this way. And it's the same with NXT in 2015. They had plans, Samoa Joe, Rhino, and Jushin Thunder Liger, essentially. Those were the three guys that signed non-exclusive deals with WWE. That Joe could work NXT, but he could also work in other companies. Same as Rhino. Jushin Thunder Liger was working for New Japan, but was also going to do more NXT dates. But very, very quickly, it was like, if they're not exclusive, they're not here. And we're not signing them. You're signing exclusive or you're not doing it at all. Yep. That's the WWE way. Thank you to the American Dadass, Jesse Long, who wrote a very long post about why he's not happy about Hulk Hogan. I won't read the whole thing out because it is very, very long, but thank you for your post. There was no question there either. He essentially, at the end of it, was like, sorry, I just ranted. There was no real question there.
Just wanted to get this off my chest.
Josh the Lock Not Johnson says, hi, Ollie, Luke, Fakador, Pete, Randy, housemate Hyman. I was wondering what your thoughts are on Jazzy Gabert. I saw one match on the network with her a while back, and it stuck in my head since. She needs some character work, but she has main event written all over her. Her strength look reminds me a lot of Chyna. What are your thoughts on her? She's great.
Yeah, she's definitely got like a presence that a lot of other female competitors don't have. It's just the sheer size of her. She's like
completely
got that like bodybuilder physique, dominant power that WWE gives to Nia Jax.
Yeah. And if I remember the story correctly, she took quite a shine to Ollie Davis when the one time that he did meet her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently so. Abhiram has got a question here who says, the music for most of the new wrestlers is so bad, in my opinion. From the new crop of talent, only Angel Garza and Joaquin Wilde have good music. Since heel Io Shirai's music is new too, we'll count that in. But has there been any good entrance music produced by WWE in the past year? Out of all the people in the breakout tournament, most of the themes are unlistenable. Literally, I can't hear them. I'm pretty sure it's just a Titantron and no music. What do you guys think?
The music is dross now.
It is,
isn't
yeah.
it?
We were talking about this in the NXT.
We were talking about the NXT Ramble, and it's like there's no pop to it. There's no like sting at the beginning to make you sit up and go, oh, this guy's coming out. Like people are just cheering because a name comes on the screen. It's like that should never ever be the case. Io Shirai, I think, is the only outlier amongst that in the new crop of like music that's happened. But I think that's because it goes so well with her look to have a slightly more downbeat bit of music.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we're so past the days of the Undisputed Era's brilliant.
Boom.
Like, yeah, but also just that's just a fantastic riff on
It's a
the
wicked
sort of
rage.
DX
Yeah, totally.
type music. It's so good.
And I think as well, it's all about the presentation of it, because Kushida, you can tell that they would have already pegged him to be a star because he's been given the big dramatic entrance.
Yeah.
Damian Priest is someone that clearly thinks is going to be a star because he's been given the big dramatic entrance. Everyone else has just got, here is some music.
Yeah.
And it's the most generic music.
Keith Lee's new music's quite good.
Which he did himself.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Unless you can make your own music
Yeah.
now, you're kind of lumped with whatever they type into audio networks. Like generic cowboy.
Shire, back again, who says, would you guys ever consider making a behind-the-scenes video of a day in WrestleTalk for 800,000 subscribers? Love the consistency. It's not going to be that interesting.
You would be bored. AF.
Absolutely. It's
Six
really,
people sat in a room with headphones on, not talking to each
yeah,
other.
it's not. I mean, it's fun working here. Don't get me wrong. And I love making these videos, and I love hanging out with, like, essentially my best friends on a daily basis. But I don't know if that's a fun thing to watch, because it is us just doing a lot of work.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Is like you see, most of the chat that we have in a day happens on screen,
and it's inane.
Yeah, and it's inane. Yeah, so like I think you already see the majority of us talking to each other.
I don't think
you wouldn't glean any more information from watching us behind the scenes.
And I don't think you need to see us standing in front of a green screen, fluffing a line, moving the prompter back up, standing back in line, and then doing it again. Because we're recording things on our own.
Swearing at the prompter.
Swearing at the prompter, and come on, the drilling started. Like, I'll go back to the office, and our editor will say, you've sent me the wrong rushes. And we're like, oops, okay, here's the new one. I don't think it's that interesting to watch. Reese says, hello, lovely boys, having a lovely time. Except for you, Randy. Get back in your lovely non-corner and think about what you did. A very simple question. Other than Goldberg feels bad about having a dud match, boo bloody who, what was the point of Goldberg versus Ziggler? Because as far as I can tell, the only thing it achieved was to once again make the current roster feel inferior to the legends. How can we still be invested in them when someone who was presented as being on the same level as the WWE Champion 2 months ago gets squashed in less than 2 minutes by someone who won't be seen again? I don't know, maybe I'm just disappointed at needing to vent, since I thought they'd actually start using legends to get over current stars with the Fiend's attack on Mick Foley and Kurt Angle, or pining for someone like Randy Orton's legend-killing gimmick. Just wanted to get your opinion, I guess. Kind regards, Reese.
Well, using Mick Foley and Kurt Angle to put over the Fiend isn't saying much.
No.
Like, and the King. Like, they're all so injured or old that they can't wrestle. They're not allowed. They're not really allowed to wrestle anymore.
Angle losing a WrestleMania did nothing for Baron Corbin.
Well, Angle shouldn't be wrestling. Frankly, look at him, like the poor man.
Poor man.
This poor, incredibly talented man who can't really be as talented as he was anymore. I think, and the thing is, the Goldberg. I have no idea what's going on with Dolph Ziggler. I don't understand. I didn't understand the booking of the Goldberg thing because he was feuding with The Miz to then have a rumored match with Shawn Michaels to then eventually have a match with Goldberg.
Yeah.
And like I said in my news about that, it's the Rube Goldberg method of booking. It's a machine that makes no sense and takes a really long route to get to where it needs to go. It just, I don't understand.
Well, the story goes that Paul Heyman loves Goldberg, and he wants to treat Goldberg the same way that Bruno Sammartino was treated at the end of his career, which is that he was in the New York area, the New York territory, and he'd do 1 or 2 shows a year, and he'd come back and it's like, oh my God, Bruno's back.
Yeah.
I've got to go see these matches. It's the old John Wayne character coming in for one last gunfight.
I buy that.
So that's that's the position Goldberg is in now. He's just going to come in and do 2 shows a year, and he's just going to be treated like this larger than life mythical creature that's like, oh my God, I can't believe he's back again.
But to take on freaking Dolph Ziggler.
Well, the reason why he took on Dolph, apparently, and I love this was from Tom Colohue, I think, on from Pro Wrestling Torch, who said that it's because, well, he essentially said, did you see Undertaker take that jackhammer? Dolph will take that really well. And that's essentially what it's like. Dolph can take the spear and he can take the jackhammer and make Goldberg look amazing. So you put them in there with Dolph.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's the thing. It's like Dolph is very good, but he has no character. He's got no heat. He's got no wins. He's got no credibility in the ring with anyone at the moment because you don't believe that Dolph Ziggler will win the match. Having Goldberg come out and squash him, he wasn't even annoying enough to be squashed by Goldberg. Like, kicking Shawn Michaels, I'm sorry, it's not enough to make me go like, oh, he needs a Goldberging. Like,
absolutely. I agree.
Build someone up to be Goldberged. Like, have them call out Goldberg. Like, you can't just offhand mention him in a three-way. I'm already slagging off the Miz and Shawn Michaels, so I might as well chuck Goldberg in the mix because he's not turning up. Oh well, here he is. Oh,
I've been spitting.
Oh, damn it.
Krinia says, hello guys, just saw there weren't enough mailbag questions, so I thought I'd add one in. Do you think commentary could actually be the thing to keep mainstream viewers attached to a product? When I was watching the G1 with my cynical, sarcastic girlfriend, and she kept making her usual comments, for example, why would a Japanese Alicia Silverstone, which is Tanahashi, work over that guy, Ospreay's leg, when he's got his shoulders all taped up? It was like Kevin Kelly was answering her very question as soon as she asked it. Because, after a while, because in that case, Tanahashi wants to get Ospreay off his base so he can't hit his high-flying maneuvers anymore. After a while, that actually got her into the match, and she really enjoyed the rest of the show. Do you think AEW or WWE should put on commentary like that to keep viewers invested, or is it not fitting of these promotions?
I think they do it. I think they already do.
You tell the story through commentary.
They tell the story. I think NXT is very...
Mora's great at it.
Mora and Nigel are incredible at making sense of a match. Like, Nigel goes out of his way to cover a botch. And not just in the Michael Cole, I don't think he got all of that way. There was a much better, like, Nigel will tell a story or, like, come up with something that makes sense of it. Like, in the Killian Dane bit with Matt Riddle, he was like, I think he slipped off his back because of, like...
they're sweaty.
Yeah, because they're sweaty, but he was like, that still looked painful. And, it did look painful, but even just referencing that it was a botch, something happened, like... trying to make sense of it and then just going, that still looked awful.
Yeah.
That's fine. Like, it did look awful. That was the bit in the match that made me go, oh, like, because it looked really sore.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is a place for it in WWE, but and AEW, of course. Tattoo Cooperman says, is AEW the best thing that has happened to WWE in a long time? Also, what do you think about Orange Cassidy signing with AEW? How will his gimmick hold up on TV over time? Well, the first question is, absolutely it is. Yeah, competition has brought out the best in them. Yeah. I also think declining ratings has been the best thing for WWE in a long time because Vince has been like, oh my God, Heyman come in.
It was. I think it was the correct collusion of ratings falling and then legitimate competition starting up that obviously woke Vince from whatever fugu state he's been in some sort of funk for ages and he's been in a Terry funk.
As to the question of Orange Cassidy signing with AEW, it's an interesting one because I'm such a mark for Orange Cassidy.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm in agreement with Dave Meltzer here. I think it's a great signing, but it almost doesn't feel like it's the right time to be doing it. You almost want to establish the TV now before you bring in something like an Orange Cassidy. And how is the Cassidy gimmick going to, work week to week on a TV product?
But I don't necessarily think he'll be week to week. I think they've got plenty of other talent that will be on every single week, and then they will have jape matches on the opening of each show.
But here's what I would say about Orange Cassidy. He's so giftable. He has got shareable content.
Yeah.
And when you've got something who is shareable content and you put that on social media and people watch it, it's like, oh my God, this is hilarious. I want to see more of this. It's, it's the dick suplex.
Yeah.
It's people watch that and be like, I want to hear more about this Jerry Ryan guy.
Yeah.
So it's the sort of thing that people watch and be like, I want to see more of this. I'm going to tune into AEW so I can see it.
Well, I think that's the thing, is like deploying him sparingly and not having him use the exact same bit of the gimmick over and over again. Because there's so much stuff that he does with such a simple gimmick of, I'm basically going to keep my hands in my pockets the whole time.
Yeah.
Just eke that out over time.
Oh, yeah.
Like once a month we see him. Don't have him on every week.
Absolutely.
Because it will run its course very quickly.
And let's be honest, once he gets a match with MJF, we're all going to be massively into it because that's going to be amazing. That guy who wants to support says, greetings, do you think we'll ever see The Rock in a match again, or is he done? And not like he's had a match with Roman, but a real match. And if he does have one match, who should it be to retire him? I think we're done seeing The Rock.
WWE simply don't have enough money for The Rock now.
I just don't think the studios are going to sign it off. Like he had that one match, the WrestleMania match with John Cena, and he got himself injured, and it delayed the making of the Hercules movie that he did. That cost the studio a lot of money. Whenever The Rock signs on for a movie now, he has a clause in his contract that says you cannot do any wrestling because we can't risk you being injured. And he's got thousands upon thousands of products that he's working on.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll ever see him in the ring again.
Yeah, no, unless he unless he takes a year off from filming.
That's it,
If
yeah.
he takes a year off from filming, he might appear. WWE might be able to sway him to be like, "Do you want to just do some training and then come back for one thing?"
Connor Kieran says, when will your new logo tees be on sale? I'd like to buy 2 of each colour. Give me what I want. Yeah, I mean, Ollie's not here to answer that question, but soon, I believe, is the answer. Scott Aguilar says, I was just listening to the WrestleMania 30 Ramble on my commute home. That's one of our Patreon podcasts, WrestleRamble Extra, where we review old pay-per-views. And The Undertaker Lesnar made me think of something. I started watching wrestling at the age of 10 in 1994. I caught up the prior 10 years through rented VHS tapes. What even are those? After his first couple of years, that's him saying, I know what they are. I still collect VHS tapes. After his first couple of years in WWF, I could not stand watching The Undertaker. I just felt that he was boring, and the finishes were extremely slow and predictable. Sit up, chokeslam, tombstone, 1, 2, 3. The product as a whole was boring in retrospect, but taken matches were nap-worthy to me. The ultimate bad example of this was the atrocious match with Sid, where he won the title at WrestleMania, which is no doubt a knock on Sid as well. The following year, as the Attitude Era began, I saw my first live event in Boston. 13-year-old me was screaming from the nosebleeds, boring, you suck, during his entrance. Even as he evolved into the American Badass and beyond, he lost me. No matter how over he was with everyone else, I could not stand him. I hated the streak. I hated people talking about the streak. I just wanted it to go away. Perhaps it was my wishful thinking, but I said to my wife, the streak was ending against Lesnar, and when it did, 29-year-old me was still screaming at my TV, yes, you suck. Sorry for the diatribe. Now for the actual question. Do either of you have someone who is over like Rover and revered by the world, but just can't win you over, even by most measures they should? This is quite similar to a question we had last week of unpopular wrestling opinions, and the answer for me is Randy Orton.
I don't like Randy Orton.
I've never been massively invested in Randy Orton matches.
I mean, he's a handsome lad with cool tattoos.
He certainly is.
And wicked music.
And a cool finisher. And his matches are boring. Oh, yeah.
Oh, super boring.
I mean, let's be honest. That match he had with Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania wasn't bad because of the projections.
Yeah.
That just added to how bad the match already was.
Here we go. Here's one. Jeff Hardy.
Do you know what? You and Ollie Davis, Ollie Davis are all on the anti-Jeff train.
Jeff Hardy.
I'm a Jeff Hardy mark.
I loved Jeff Hardy I loved Jeff Hardy years and years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they were doing all the stuff with the Dudleys and Edge and Christian. Fab.
I think that goodwill's carried over for me.
That was the end of that was the end of it, because he's still doing that stuff and it looks sore and is slower and is less interesting now.
And I'm going to say another one as well, which has given me a lot of heat previously on this channel.
Go on.
Matt Hardy.
Yeah.
Particularly the broken stuff.
Really?
Which I thought was fine. Like, I thought it was funny at first, but I thought the woken stuff in particular in WWE was garbage.
I preferred the broken stuff. I prefer all the broken stuff around the wrestling bit of it. And then the wrestling bit of it, he's got a couple of fun spots, and then it's just...
It's a Matt Hardy match.
It's more Matt Hardy.
And I've seen thousands upon thousands of Matt Hardy matches, and I don't think I've ever seen a Matt Hardy match where I'm like, what an amazing match that was.
Bless you, Matt.
Chris Gardner says, hi guys, just listen to the SmackDown review. Happy birthday, Pete. What do you think about seeing Buddy Murphy and Roman become a tag team for a while? It would elevate Buddy and would be a good exercise to not have Roman in the WWE Universal title picture for a bit longer. Vince would actually care about it because Roman is a part of it. I'm not massively into that.
I don't want it to happen.
No, Buddy's fine on his own. He's all right on his own.
As a single star.
I think they could probably do a tag match, Roman and Buddy versus Bryan and Rowan. But I don't want to see them have a long run as a tag team.
Yeah. So Buddy Murphy got a win over Daniel Bryan this week.
Certainly did.
Right? So that's really cool, and that's elevation enough. And then you can just drop him out of that because like Roman can't just go around hoovering up people from 205 Live, because he's already had the bit with Cedric.
Yeah.
So is this just his thing now? He just hoovers up cruiserweights.
Yeah.
And then he's like, cool. Well, you're now part of my story.
Yeah. Orbit around me.
Yeah. Get no value out of this.
Alex Kirkman says, WrestleMania 36, Prince Charles Cinema, WrestleMania on the big screen. Thoughts? I think it's difficult because I don't think the Prince Charles have a license to show live sport. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know if that's possible.
What about sports entertainment?
Oh, that's different, isn't it?
It's different.
I'll ask the Prince Charles and see what they say. But I think that would be a lot of fun.
I'd really love to do a live watch-along of anything. It'd be really fun.
Absolutely, I would. Flev Doran says, hello, WrestleTalk crew. Royal Quest is upon us, and I can't wait for it. I'll be attending my first major wrestling event, and second only after a WWE house show back in 2011. What is your most anticipated match, and why is it Okada versus Suzuki? which I'm very much looking forward to.
Oh,
That and
yeah.
Zack versus Tanahashi. Oh, yes, mate. Also, I hope I can meet you guys right before the show, whenever, as it'll be my first international trip, and it'll make it a lot less stressful and a lot more fun. Love you guys. Keep up the great work. Well, we are going to be doing a SWAF Nation meetup before the show because there is a bar which has got retro consoles. There's got Mega Drives and SNESes and all that sort of stuff plugged in. So we're going to go to there.
It is literally a minute from the venue.
You could throw a stone and you'll hit it. So we're going to go there for like, probably maybe 4 hours before the show. We're going to have a SWAF Nation meetup. Everyone can get a drink. Everyone can meet each other. Everyone get to know each other.
I can beat you all at Micro Machines!
or Mario Kart, and we'll just have a proper little laugh.
Micro Machines is the new game.
Is it
That's
your
what
new
we're playing
thing?
on Monday.
What, about bloody time people are into Micro Machines. Good
We
lord.
played it for hours on Monday.
Oh my god, which version? The original or 96?
The SNES one. So I think that was 94.
Well,
94
it'd be the
version?
original one, which was 95. Then it was 96, and then the 97.
Maybe it was 96 then.
Yeah. Oh my god, I love me some Micro Machines.
It was so
An amazing game.
But anyway, yeah, we're going to be there.
So
come
yeah,
down.
absolutely. So we'll put out details more about that in the weeks to come because we're actually quite close to Royal
the week
Quest
to
now.
come.
In the week to come, exactly. Yeah, God, it's next weekend.
It's
isn't
next
it?
weekend.
Bloody hell! In which case, next week we're going to be posting up details about it.
Mm-hmm.
So keep your eyes peeled. David Sidney says. So I'm thinking, if Dunn beats Dream for the North American title, then faces. And then Strong faces Dunn for the title, we could get full circle from the Strong originally turning on Dunn to join the UE. Strong wins the title with interference, then have all of the UE draped in gold. So Dunn brings British Strong Style in, and we do British Strong Style versus Undisputed Era inside of War Games.
Oh, boy, howdy. I love that.
While I do like that, we have already done Undisputed Era versus British Strong Style.
Yeah, but not in the same way.
Not in War Games, I suppose.
Who would British Strong Style choose as the fourth as a Regal?
Yeah, oh, mate, can you imagine if it was Regal? Now you've turned me.
Oh.
Now you've absolutely turned me onto this idea.
Yeah.
You do Undisputed Era versus British Strong Style with William Regal.
Yeah.
Chilly Willy Reeks. Oh, now it's talking.
You've been very bad, boy.
I'm going to bloody well beat you up.
Here's a kendo stick.
And some brass knucks.
Knucks for all of you.
Ryan B. Bad says, do you think Fiend will be the next guy The Undertaker faces, perhaps even at Survivor Series or Mania, and that should be The Undertaker's last match? I think it would be the perfect time because Survivor Series has begun a bigger push to retire Roman, to retire Roman Undertaker. And we've had this discussion time and time again. I don't know if we're ever going to see The Undertaker's last match. And even if it is The Undertaker's last match, in storyline, it won't be.
Yeah.
Because there's still 10 more years of Saudi shows.
Exactly.
And he'll always be on the Saudi shows.
Also, I don't want to see Undertaker versus The Fiend.
I don't really either.
That's a lot of entrance.
Yes.
A lot of entrance.
And I mean, they've got spooky gimmicks. So I don't know. One of my favorite things about The Fiend, from wrestling fans messaging in, is everyone's single idea is put him up against other spooky people.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that's a really, it's not the way I'd want to go.
So I really enjoy The Fiend. I wasn't sold on his entrance. Unpopular wrestling opinions.
I mean, really, it is. What?
I don't think he should have an entrance.
I'm almost. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. I don't think it fits a character like that. I think coming out and having a wrestling match doesn't work. I think he should have been booked in for a match with Finn Balor. Absolutely. You promo the hell out of this match happening. Somebody else comes out to the ring to have their match. Mid-match, The Fiend just drags Finn Balor by the jaw from the back down to the ring, chucks him in, and starts having his match. Because why would The Fiend be like, yes, I will arrive in time for my match?
Am I segment 8?
When am I on? Am I after Lacey Evans, or I'm okay, brilliant.
It's
Excellent.
catering open.
Fabulous, wonderful, darling. I'll just lift this mask up, put it into my mouth hole. But I just don't think he should be booked like a wrestler. I think he should be working through all of Bray Wyatt's failures, like Finn Balor, Randy Orton, etc., etc., but just by coming out and beating them up, and then the match is booked by WWE, and he obliges in having the match, but on his own terms.
Yeah.
Having the big, long, spooky entrance is a great spectacle and really an obvious part of wrestling to do. But for the character, feels a bit stupid.
Strongly disagree. It was the greatest thing I've ever seen. David Sidney said, if it's true that Bray Wyatt has pretty much creative control over The Fiend and it's his idea, then isn't this proof that the wrestlers should be given more creative freedom? Even though The Fiend is amazing, it's a shame nobody else seems to get that freedom. Can you imagine others creatively would be allowed to flourish? WWE would be amazing all the time. Well, Daniel Bryan's allowed to. Like, the whole new Daniel Bryan character is all his design. I think he does all the promo work for it as well. But yeah, I mean, wrestlers should be given more creativity.
Yeah. But I think but there are certain people who are much more talented in that field. So like not every wrestler should be given creative freedom. So it makes sense that they have to be sparing and they have to choose people who have been proven to already be talented at that. Like Bray Wyatt has shown time and time again that he can take something and spin it into gold.
Yeah.
As has Daniel Bryan.
Yeah. Let's
completely run with what they. And also, these two ideas are wacky as balls. Like Daniel Bryan going, "I'm going to become an eco-warrior vegan."
Yeah,
like,
and it's a heel.
And it's a heel. Genius.
Yeah.
Bray Wyatt, Firefly Funhouse, The Fiend. Genius. So look, if someone comes to the table and goes, "This is my idea for my character," that's great. If they just go, "I'm a superhero," like, well, we've got hundreds of those.
Yeah.
Like we've got thousands of those. Like.
And let's not forget
it's
as
a
well,
strong wrestling gimmick, but it is just a wrestling gimmick.
Bray Wyatt, the original version of Bray Wyatt, was also of his creation. Like, he has clearly got a mind for creating characters. On that same note, Alexa Bliss with the coffee cup is clearly her own creative decision, and it sucks. So, it's not going to work all the time. Hannibal says, since everyone wants CM Punk back in wrestling, what do you guys think of AEW bringing him in as a commentator? He had a mini run in WWE commentating, and it gets him on AEW TV, although he's not wrestling. And who knows, maybe he'll get a part-time wrestling bug if he's around it. Let me know what you guys think.
What was it again?
Do you think CM Punk is a commentator for AEW?
I don't know.
I think it's a good idea, but they've got like 1,000 commentators now because Tony Schiavone's coming in.
Yeah.
You've got Marvez, you've got Jim Ross, you've got Excalibur, Golden Boy's looking to come back as well.
It is probably your only way to bridge the gap with Punk because I think he doesn't have very much interest in wrestling at all.
Well, the very interesting note in the Observer this week is that because of the way that Cody and the Bucks have handled them chatting with CM Punk, on Twitter, it's really soured their relationship. And now him going to AEW seems completely off the table, which has now opened the door for him to go back to WWE. And apparently his agent has approached FS1 about him hosting the WWE show that they want to do where they sort of like recap all the stories.
Wow.
So we may even see CM Punk WWE return.
Flippin' heck.
Michael says, top of the morning to you all. What do you think Ronda Rousey will do when she returns? Personally, I think that the SmackDown Women's Championship is currently being mishandled. Yeah, how's that true? Because they're just going to give it to Ronda when she comes back. Oh, right, you're saying because they're going to give it to Ronda. I mean, I think it's just being mishandled currently. Thank you guys for what you do. I've been watching you guys since before Luke was full-time, and this is my first time at reaching out to you. I think we'll see her as number 30 in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's when we're next to you. Just hear that. I don't give a damn about my
That'd be so
reputation.
cool.
Crowd comes unglued. It's the first time we've seen Ronda since.
And then you get a huge WrestleMania match.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
She doesn't have to
great.
win it. She doesn't have to win the Rumble, but you have something set up in that match to set up a big WrestleMania match.
I think she wins the Rumble. I think that's a great way to redeploy Ronda Rousey. She feels like the winner. Like you can put somebody else over by having them in first and having them like run all the way through. Who's like a younger talent coming up. Like, I think that would be great.
Yeah. Austin Tussey says, am I the only one who wants to see Drake and R-Truth feud, or the feud to end, then find common ground and become tag team champions? Yeah, no. I mean, I think they're going to form a tag team to be, well, not form a tag team, but they're going to form an alliance so they can get the 24/7 title off of Elias,
Yeah.
an alliance. But I don't want to see them become tag champs. I don't want to see them win the titles because, look at the B team. It was fun for a week. And then they won the belts, and everyone was like, I'm sick of this act.
Well, but the thing is, you devalue the tag team. The tag team championships are struggling as it is to seem legitimate. You don't put it on R-Truth and Drake. I've forgotten his name. In saying what was going to happen, I'd forgotten his name. That's how into the idea I am.
Robert Ray says, hi guys, so I was thinking who there is in wrestling careers who've never had a heel face turn. The only one I can think of is Rey Mysterio. I never watched WCW, so I don't know if Rey was a heel there. He very much was when he took his mask off. Since 2002, he's always been a face in WWE. So my question is, do you have one person to never turn heel or face? Who would it be? He then goes to say it should be Kevin Owens. For me, it's Jeff Hardy. Turning Jeff Hardy heel in TNA was the biggest error they ever made. I mean, I say the biggest. It was one of the big errors they made. I don't think he's someone you can turn heel at this point.
Becky Lynch.
Becky Lynch is another one, absolutely.
Becky Lynch problem is now people just think that's more badass. Like,
Yeah.
it should be very hard to turn properly heel now because what is she possibly going to say that she's not already been saying on Twitter to people?
Yeah.
That like is going to make her seem like I'm a bad guy. Like unless she goes corporate.
Yeah, oh yeah, do corporate
Becky.
Becky.
Corporate Becky is probably the only heel turn you could do for Becky Lynch. Now.
Yeah, and don't do it like Austin's heel turn in 2001, where you killed the business. Green Bastard says, sup fellas, I was wondering if we can get a YouTube video of a day in life of Ollie Davis. We know that he's on his way to work and some masked stranger tries to steal his wallets, but I want to see what happens after that. Like when he gets to the office, reviews Raw, gets prepared for his YouTube review, the podcast, sees Randy's ugly mug for the first time, plots how to punch Blake Ham in the face. Thanks to Green Bastards from Parts Unknown Canada. It's very much the same answer we had earlier. It's not that interesting.
No.
In fact, actually,
it's less interesting. It's
Ollie.
Ollie.
I was going to say Ollie states are even less interesting than ours. His is all business. It's just
Supplements.
it's taking supplements, doing phone calls, and then talking about the supplements that he's taken.
Yeah. Goes to the gym.
And then goes to the gym for a bit. Noah says, hey guys, last week I attended my first ever indie show and I went with a friend to NEW Prison Break where Moxley unmasked Pentagon to help win the main event. I had a blast at the event and encourage any wrestling fan to go to an indie show if you haven't yet. It was also really encouraging to see Jon Moxley find his love professional wrestling again. With that said, my question is, what current WWE wrestler is in most need of a return or debut in the indie scene to reinvigorate their career?
Ooh. Who is that person?
Dolph Ziggler's the answer I always go with.
Dolph.
Dolph would be a way to completely he can go and completely reinvent himself on the because he could just go out and have great matches. No one's like, oh my god, Dolph's amazing again.
Yeah, that is true. He's been so hampered by WWE's booking of him.
Yeah,
he's. I think Dolph's great. Like he's a fantastic talker, fantastic worker, and he just keeps getting given crap to work
exactly.
with.
And he's been given crap for the 20 years that he's been doing it in WWE.
But clearly that's how they view him. Like the thing is, you should never do a job. Clearly in WWE, just never do a job for somebody because you get tarred with the brush of you're brilliant at jobbing out to people.
You're very good at selling.
You're really good at taking a jackhammer, mate.
Yeah, I would have said Zack Ryder as well, but I think that ship's probably sailed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ridden off into the sunset.
Marcel says, we might get to the end of this mailbag if we try, because we've got a few left to go. Marcel Jura says, hey guys, it's the Swabian Pasta guy here. It's been a while since I last wrote to the mailbag, but I found myself in a very cool position. I'd love to hear your opinions on it. After I released my book on wrestling origins, cheap plug, which is supposed to be on this set, but it's actually currently on my desk in the office, I've managed to land a gig with a big German wrestling promotion as an editor to create and edit hype clips for some of their matches.
Nice.
Now my question for you is, what are your favorite hype clip or promos for matches, and what would you say is the best ratio when it comes to interviews versus in-ring footage? Any other advice, and how many Walter chops would be too much for one single clip? And the answer is there's never too many.
Yeah, as long as it's like part of a obvious chop montage.
Yeah.
So
the two best video packages that I'm not gonna mention the obvious ones like Brian's WrestleMania 30 Monster video package and the Austin Rock WrestleMania X7, which I think are just absolutely masterpieces of work. But David Starr versus Jordan Devlin at OTT last year is one of the greatest promo packages I've ever seen in my life. It was absolutely stunning. And the key to it, I think, as well, it's knowing what your storyline is. Like, if your storyline is so story-driven and so character-driven, then you want to focus on the interviews as well as the in-ring action. But if it is, these two are amazing wrestlers, and they're going to have an amazing wrestling match, then you want to focus on the in-ring stuff and a bit of interview.
Yeah.
So it sort of depends on what your match is.
Ideally, you hope that it's somewhere between the two, like Cole Gargano match number 1 for the vacant NXT title. That promo package is exceptional.
Yeah.
With all the Johnny goes to the stadium and he's running around in the stands and stuff.
Yeah.
Cole's training with the Undisputed Era.
And the other one,
so good.
the other one I'm going to pick out because me and I were talking about it recently on our Patreon podcast is Bayley Sasha Banks from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2015. An incredible storytelling promo, which also has brilliant interviews from Bayley and Banks. Yeah, so those would be the ones I would certainly go to look at. Ryan B. Bad says, with NXT now as the official third brand, do you think a superstar shakeup or draft would give WWE a great reason to move a big name roster guy, maybe Daniel Bryan, to NXT, similar to when The Undertaker was first drafted to SmackDown back in 2001? Hey, SmackDown had big stars. What was had The Rock drafted to it? Yeah. Maybe. I mean, I don't think we're going to get a draft or anything like that. I think it's not going to be the third brand. It is the third brand, but I don't think even when they do the Superstar shakeup, maybe they will. I don't know.
I think it's still going to be where developmental guys and gals end up.
And then move up to the main roster.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I think that's always going to be the case. I'm hoping that the door opens a bit more for some of these main roster guys to go back down, like they were doing quite recently with Apollo Crews coming down and people returning.
Yeah.
But I'm not necessarily sure if it's going to be Undertaker, Seth Rollins.
Yeah, exactly.
That lot.
The American Dadass Jesse Long says, greetings to Luke, Ollie, Laurie, Choppy, your Pete, Randy, Andy, Nissan, housemate Simon, and my old Florida wrestling pal SoCal Val, that piece of crap Blake Crab, and to all the other talkers and stalkers I may have missed. If you'll allow my tinfoil hat theory, do you think the apology angles from Becky Lynch and Kevin Owens are a symptom of Vince McMahon ultra-rich 1%er business owner headspace? Is he purposely putting out stories where the rebellious hero is torn down by the rich business owner to further his own political beliefs? As children of the Attitude Era, we grew up where our heroes didn't take any bull S-word from rich bastards. And I'd like to think that in some ways that had a positive effect on us and our future adult selves. Is Vince now trying to raise a generation of lower to middle class fans that will think twice about being that won't think twice about being held down by the man? Sorry if this gets a little too political and incoherent. To keep up the consistency, you guys are my #podcast goals for a little to no name podcast like mine, and it's nice to see that you can make a career out of talking about tiny pants play fights. That's a very interesting tinfoil hat conspiracy.
That is, yeah.
I kind of like it as a conspiracy theory as well. I'm not sure I fully buy into it, but I'd like your thinking.
I mean, they had plenty of people bowing down to the authority figures in the Attitude
But not the heroes, though.
Not
like
the
the true heroes. Like
The true.
Austin was always standing up to the man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where now it's the man has apologized for being the man, and now Kevin Owens has apologized because he wants to be grateful that he's getting paid.
I think the issue is that the McMahons are no longer characters on a TV show only in the eyes of the public. They are now personalities who appear at events, shaking hands and taking pictures and putting out press releases and doing all the business stuff. But they're also on Twitter.
Yeah.
And there needs to be a bit of a separation between how ruthless you can be, because you also have to be the one to break stories. And I think in the age of social media, you can't just be the out-and-out horrible face of a company and always have someone standing up to you being like, "You're so bad." At some point, you have to show that even the people in your show are reasonable and will say, you know, "I'm sorry I'm breaking the rules, I'm sorry I'm doing this, I'm sorry I'm doing that," because you have to restore order to make the rest of the business seem like it works. I don't know. Like maybe you need to remove the people who are actually the actual operating officers of the company from the product, which is a shame because you made them all characters in the 90s, and now they're all sort of in there.
I just wouldn't have your badass baby faces apologizing to McMahon's.
Yeah, just maybe don't always do the corporate story angle with the top guys.
It's always that as well.
Just don't do that.
Lorenzo says, since New Day uses Freebird rules, does this mean that both of the main champions are dual champions? I don't think the Freebird rule has been in effect since Kofi won the title. Yeah. And Xavier Woods and Big E are the tag champs. It's not it's not Kofi is not a tag champ. And lastly, we're actually finally through the mailbag. We've stayed late at work so we can get through this. Chopper fan number 3 says, "Hi Luke, Ollie, Laurie, Pete, Simon, and Randy. Are the Undisputed Era the greatest ever NXT act in your opinion?"
Maybe
DIY.
I mean, there was DIY. I love the Undisputed Era. I was saying today, watching NXT, I was just seeing them, all 4 of them, come out to do a promo together and just watching the full entrance. I was like, oh, I love this.
It's great.
I really love this.
Yeah. But what that means is the mailbag is now empty.
Holy hell.
Which means we'll have the return of Crap Gimmick Wrestling next bloody week.
So glad I could come in for the end just to... to steal the glory from Ollie, who's been answering questions for ages, and I just come in and just be like, I'll take us over the finish line.
I was going to say, in all fairness, Ollie is also the one who is tapping my foot, being like, we've gone long enough. You know, let's not answer too many questions. That is all we've got time for on today's show. Please click the stuff that's appeared on the desk to catch up with more WrestleTalk stuff, and this button right here, which will make you a pledge hammer on Patreon. Thank you for watching. I have been Luke Owen. This has been our fake doll, Laurie Blake, and that was wrestling.